but it's New York claps and bangs pots and pans for essential workers.
Is it happening right now?
It's literally happening right now, so you might hear it.
I've been wanting to be live, to be on FaceTime with you when that happened.
See, people are on their roof hitting
That's
pots
amazing.
and pans. It's incredible. I just wanted to let you know what that noise would be.
And enjoy. And I wish I had my pan with me.
Hi guys.
We got a lot of peeps with us.
Oh my God, 8,000.
Hi, 8,000 people.
Hold on, I'm sitting up because I didn't realize I would be. Sorry, I'm in the usual overalls pajamas situation.
I'm in stripes, which is nothing new.
You look good with these clips. I like these clips.
These clips, I believe I got them at Rite Aid many moons ago. I love a good...
When Rite Aid wasn't eclipsed by Walgreens or CVS. Remember when we were younger, Rite Aid was like dominant in the marketplace.
Rite Aid was my go-to. It still is, honestly. They have really good clips. Little cheapy clippies.
Amanda just goes, Kara, how many days are you going to wear those overalls for? Many days until I have to go out and... Well, no, because I'm a person who wears the same thing all the time. Yes, I washed them, Amanda. Jeez.
I know. I was looking for my overalls, but I couldn't find them.
Wow, we have a lot of people in here.
All right, you guys. Well, I pinned the story.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my... Okay, there we go. That's good. I finally got a new tripod.
I printed mine.
Oh, yeah, so did I, because we're going to read it from here.
Yeah.
But you have a color printer. Because you have a color printer.
I guess I do.
Which is exciting. How's everybody doing? I guess there's a lot of hearts.
What is that?
Oh, good. Everyone looks like they're doing well.
Positive and happy today.
Yes, I hope everybody's doing okay. Brazil loves you. I'm assuming you as Emma. Brazil loves you. Queen invented office work. That's a good one. All right. Well, look, we wanted to come back and read a story. We're still in quarantine. LA, what are you, till August now at this point?
I think so, yeah. That's what it would seem.
New York, at least until June 13th. Someone said beaches opened. I don't know where that would be.
I've just been home.
Yeah.
I haven't even gone for a walk or anything, which I should probably get moving a little bit. But I told them before you got on that I've been on the couch reading one of our summer picks that we think we're gonna pick for summer.
I think I know which.
So that's what I've been doing.
I can't say.
You know when you're like just devouring reading? I'm in that mode.
Yeah.
The last like 4 days, which has been fun.
It seems to ebb and flow, especially right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
I
couldn't get into anything, and then the last 4 days I've been like eating books.
I've noticed because you've been sending me a lot of content, and I mean that in the best way.
Thank you.
Which is why we kind of had the idea to come back to reading a short story. Also, like, I felt like in the beginning of this, I was reading a lot of short stories, and then I went down a rabbit hole the other day, and we found this, which is Slake.
Slake by Helen McCrory.
And I got confused because, you know, Helen McCrory is the woman who plays the badass on Peaky Blinders. She's a British actress. This is not Helen McCrory.
I think they're the only one that thought that. No.
I know. Well, I often find myself in that wheelhouse.
Do you want to start?
Would love
to
start. So we're going to do, because we printed, we'll just do page by page. Yeah, I'll do the first side, and then you can keep going.
Yeah.
And then we'll go page by page.
You mean you're gonna read these too?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. All right, guys. Well, if you're following along.
Yeah, I pinned, you'll be proud, the link so you guys can read along with us.
All right, guys, let's go. Slake. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you this. So slake, just really quickly.
Tell me.
I'd never heard the word slake before.
Me neither.
It's a verb. It's to quench one's thirst. to
I love that.
Slake.
Slake?
Slake. That's the name of the story, which makes sense when you.
As I'm looking at my huge water jug. All right.
There you go, Slake. Okay. I was looking for a place to sit down when I saw a woman dressed in black tearing out a page of the book she was reading and putting it into her mouth. The cafe was dark, with rain trickling down the windows and the Gothic city behind it painted broadly, though the woman was lit up in the golden beam from a downturned pendulum light, also black, giving an appearance as if the whole thing was a deliberate setup for such a performance. I approached slowly with my tray. The book was a poetry book, The Wild Iris, by someone called Louise Gluck. I watched her lips open, the page move, her teeth dragging at the paper. This.
Oh,
No,
I have the pages mixed up.
well,
Sorry.
I'm just on the first page.
No, you're okay. Well, sorry. Go on.
What are you on?
I had page 5 on page 2. My printer shuffled them.
Got it. So I'm
Carry
on the,
on.
yeah, okay.
Louise Gluck. No,
So right now she's watching, or I don't actually know, this person is watching a woman eat paper. I watched her lips open, the page move, her teeth dragging at the paper. This went on for a few leisurely minutes, during which time she stared off somewhere out of the frame of her life. At last, I sat at her table and asked what poem it was that she had eaten.
Good question. Oh.
You go. Now you can go.
No, go.
Okay. That's not the right question, she said. See, she hadn't successfully eaten it, showing me the remnants in her hand and mouth. Her saliva couldn't wet it enough to get it down. I handed her my glass of water, and after a sip, she was able to swallow it away. Her name was Vereen. I should say now that Vereen was very beautiful. Otherwise, you won't believe that I approached her at all. She had long, fine red hair that would have made Edward Munch, who did the scream, pull out his sketchbook and ink. It snaked a little greasily over her shoulders, menacing her teacup and its rusty-colored contents. Her skin looked like a Renaissance painter had put the color down over a layer of green to give it a ceramic illumination. She had the high, alarming air of someone who hadn't slept in days. What should I ask then? The matter of the word. Not so much a question, but I have some thoughts we could discuss. If you are the sort of woman who could sustain her part in a philosophical question, are you? Vereen blinked at me. Then her eyes rolled back and she fell into some kind of fit. I helped her into a comfortable position on the floor and watched her kicking her black stockinged legs, making and unmaking fists with her hands. I had never been in the position to watch someone having a fit before. A doctor who happened to be sitting in the cafe approached her after the shaking and stopped and grabbed her wrist. There's no pulse, he murmured. And I examined his face. It showed up that he believed this to be true. When Vereen came round, she sat back up in her seat and took a sip of, I never know how to pronounce this, Rubois, I don't know.
I always say Rubios, but that's not right.
You could be right. I don't know. I never know. Maybe someone in the chat.
Rubos.
Maybe someone in the chat who's reading it knows how to say it.
Okay. Low blood pressure, the doctor said. Make sure you eat a little better. I believed I had just witnessed someone make a brief, informal detour into hell. I sat back down on, here we go. I sat back down on my chair across from her. You look like you've never seen a woman die before, Vereen said. I said nothing, but folded her black sleeve up to the blue-veined fold of her inner arm and put my hand around her wrist. I pressed here and there with my fingers. I couldn't find the heartbeat. What poem was it? I asked. That's not entirely useful information, is it? She said thickly. What we talked about after that, I don't recall. This was the beginning of our intimacy. We met by chance. Chance is very favorable to meetings in a small city. By late November, we were seeing each other daily, sometimes in the cafe and sometimes in the gallery at the bottom of the hill. I liked the combination of red wallpaper and gilded framing, while the contents of the pictures left me unmoved. Most things did. My friends who came and went from my life like bubbles on a river had often told me that I lacked passion for things. I took their comments mildly and filed them away. I had thought that perhaps my passions lived somewhere else, and that one day I would catch up to them. Now this was proving to be true, though I was unaware yet if my passion would have passion for me. We had said very little of note as yet, and had yet to wade into the philosophical as she had indicated with her wish.
Vereen had just stop me when I'm breaking because I think we have different, my font's like bigger or something.
Really?
Vereen, yeah. Vereen had a favorite hideaway in the city, a walled garden recreated along Italianate lines. Walking there, she brushed the heads of the lavender with her hip and confessed to owning a crooked little house in the countryside where she would occasionally take men. That's my dream house, by the way. A crooked house where I would occasionally take men. They were better people in the country because it made them quiet, she said. They were afraid of the silence around her house at night and so tried to lose themselves in pleasing her. I didn't care to be told such things. I want to talk about everything with you, I said, meaning I want to keep talking to you, but not about men. Where is it you stay when you're in the city? But she would never tell me. I lived in a basement flat, reachable by the canal path, a badly lit lane I enjoyed passing down at nights when there was no moon, my form lost to the darkness. One such night, I was walking back from a concert. Vereen had been there, but she had decided not to acknowledge me. She had her hair up and wore a black dress that made me tremble. There was a man on the seat next to her flicking through a program for almost the whole length of the performance. Either he was bored or an obsessive. I thought not the latter. He could have had some other feeling, but the feelings of others are not always clearly discernible to me. This is only rarely a problem. I prefer not to understand such things. It seems a cruel magic to be able to peer into the locked rooms of other people. As I walked home, narrowly avoiding being hit by cyclists carrying their bands of light away from me at speed, down the black road by the black water, I decided that with Vereen, I wanted to make an exception. I began to plan how to get as close to her as I could without causing her to become uncomfortable and sending me away. It was a risk. Even though it was winter, the night was very beautiful, terrible in its depth, and so was Vereen in her richness, complexity of self.
A tower of small cakes and sandwiches fell over at the table next to ours, making a lot of noise. The old ladies both wailed, oh no, as if they had heard some terrible news from a war. A waiter rushed to their side and was assailed by apologies and pleas as he righted the tower and scooped up the broken pastries. Vereen watched them with an inscrutable expression, upright in her chair. Her posture was frequently perfect. Her hands held themselves or the object she required with a light sternness that made me think of a painter holding the neck of an animal he wished to keep alive until he could place it just off center in his still life. I watched her and the room move around us. I had now known Vereen about 3 years and was no closer to her than I had been the night I had seen her in the theater in her finery, sitting on velvet with her unequal man. I wanted to wring the truth out of her, like screwing up a cut lemon and watching the juice and pulp splash out. Escadine, she said in her harsh, glamorous voice, do you want to visit my house? It seemed to me then to be the first time I had heard my name sounded out in her mouth, though I am sure she must have by necessity used it before that time. The waiter walked past with a scone in his hand molded into the shape of a crumbling frog. The one in the country? Yes, I think we'd have better conversations there. The top bookshelf held mostly poetry and peeling volumes. I wasn't sure Vereen owned many books that were under 70, until I checked the shelf below and found a selection of new-ish covers all empty. Inside, the pages had all been torn out. It must take a long time to eat that many, I thought, and I wondered how long she had had the habit, and if it could possibly be good for her. It could, possibly. Across from the shelves, not so far across, since the room was small, was a fireplace with a mantel draped in black. On the black fabric were several page-colored bones and skulls organized by a principle I could not detect. I considered that I must be nervous.
Vereen was at the stove, boiling a yellowish soup from butcher's bones. I did not care to think what else was in the soup, but if Vereen had made it, I would slurp it down burning hot. She brought me a tea first made of some locally grown flowers. I suppose she had brought all of her men to this room and had them sit on the sofa before instructing them by subtle indications to move to the bedroom. There was a record player besides the fire. Vereen chose an album of Debussy. It makes the tea taste like spring, she said, though it's so cold. I couldn't think of anything to say. It seemed that I might say the wrong thing so easily and ruin the evening and all my future happiness. Apart from this, I was happy. I hadn't been given a tour of the house when I arrived. I was picturing the approach to the house. Stepping off the bus, I had been instructed to walk downhill on a bike path for 10 minutes, then take a left onto the drive. It was very dark by the point I reached the turnoff, and I had a moment of wooziness after walking a few steps, the cause of which I was to find out later. I used my hands to find my way, glad of the internal mechanism that kept me upright, even as my legs pushed me uncertainly forward. The drive had a thick layer of gravel on it, and on either side, a low sandstone wall. You didn't meet anyone in the road, Vereen asked, as if she had read my mind. No, I said, though it wasn't quite true. Are you at your part yet?
No.
Okay. Midway along the drive, I had felt the wooziness threaten to pitch me over. I sat on the wall a moment to get my bearings. The darkness of the night was not enough to make me feel this shaky. Was it my mood then? I had wanted to go to Vereen's house for so long that now the time had come. I was quite fired up in my way. For the first time in my life, I felt like something was about to arrive and overcome me. But that was speaking metaphorically. I glanced over the wall and tried to make out the surrounding countryside. A cloud drifted away from the moon, revealing the grainy silhouettes of trees below me. The land on either side fell away precipitously. Overlooking the edge, I could see down to a ravine, the bottom of which was obscured, though I heard the rushing sound of water and felt the damp emanating upwards, then with the smell of moss and the leachings of rocks. The walls of the drive, the bridge in fact, which at my level were only 3 feet high, extended far beneath into the darkness. This was the source of my vertigo, the knowledge my body had of the drop on the other side of me.
I was like, as I was sitting on the bridge contemplating how to go on, I sensed a figure coming towards me from the way I had just walked. It was not a person, but a spirit. I knew this instinctively, just as I had felt the sense of void around me. I sat with my hands in my lap, and the spirit came towards me slowly. I supposed creatures of that kind could walk as fast or as slow as they liked, since they had nothing but time at their disposal. In this country, there is an old understanding, now fading, that the land is home to spirits that might be the spirit of a person or something otherworldly. You might even meet the devil, though not the Christian devil, not walking with his silver-handled stick or his pipes, especially on an old bridge this far out beyond the city bounds. The spirit went on with drifting footsteps until it eventually reached me. It paused a moment, seeming to look down at me, though as there were no eyes, I couldn't tell if it did or whether it could see at all. "Good evening," I said. Some cultures will tell you not to acknowledge the supernatural for fear that it will see itself as your equal, a human, and that it will feel entitled then to challenge your humanity and take it from you. But I had been brought up to be polite. It snuffed at the air like a dog will snuff at the underside of a door it wishes to go through. Then it walked to the end of the bridge and disappeared. I could see the light from Vereen's red sandstone house lapping at the darkness where the spirit had vanished. It made sense that I walked there rather than give up, having come this far.
Can't you imagine this house?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I love
Right?
this story.
Yeah.
Can I read the one more paragraph?
Oh my God, please. No, sorry.
No, hold on. I hope my phone doesn't die. I don't think it will. It's like always. I love this. Vereen was not particularly moved by my negative answer. She shrugged and sipped her tea. I expected her to tell me a story about a ghostly soldier or a soul-stealing witch, but she only wrapped her hands tighter around her mug and stared off. She might, I thought, find supernatural stories very dull, and this one in particular had no point to it. I had received no warning, and I hadn't been threatened in any way either. The spirit had neither howled nor peeled off its skin to reveal the screaming horror below. This feeling of an uninteresting or incomplete message was perhaps why I had chosen to say nothing of what I had seen.
Vereen's house was quite hard to understand. There was the living room with terry kitchenette, her bedroom, a toilet somewhere, all on the same floor, though overhead and beneath my feet, I had the suspicion of an attic, a cellar. In the ceiling over the stove was a trapdoor with a rope handle, and as soon as I noticed it, I was unable not to think of the cavity above and what might be dwelling up there as pet or prey. Vereen ladled the soup. It was oily and plumbed up a rich-smelling steam that clung into shining droplets from her hair. The bones, thick as Verine's wrists, had cracked open and showed their dark brown marrow as they turned and bobbed in the liquor. While we ate at her small table, I observed the room and the woman who had arranged it, listening to her talk about the importance of letting conversation negate you. Between certain compatible people, she said, all speech, even written, is an attempt to... I love this sentence, I remember.
I love this sentence too, I'm underlining.
Between certain compatible people, she said, all speech, even written, is an attempt to reach a final silence. Such a good line. The idea of being able to say no more was the purpose of speaking between two such people. I thought then that I felt differently for myself. I only wanted to convince her I was acceptable company so that she would never let me go. In order to do this, I felt I had to persuade her by subtle means to show me the rest of her house. We finished the meal. It had a complex flavor, but was insubstantial. I felt something in my soul had been revived. My body felt the lightness of hunger under a film of sustenance. Well, what now? The record had come to an end, but I saw my moment. I'd love to see the rest of the house. Oh, she said, sometimes I forget. But what she forgot to reveal to me. As I had suspected, there was an attic above. She clicked on the light and gave illumination to waltzing moats and worn Persian rugs splayed over the floorboards. On the far wall, there was a window with a desk under it. I once knew a man who sailed to different ports, a real traveler and raconteur. He died of complication from a beetle's bite. He left this desk to me in his will. I think he never wrote at it even once. I was trying to formulate.
I thought someone was coming in the room.
No, you're.
I thought there was a ghost. You know, I get.
I know. Well, this is a spooky story. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to formulate a response to this when she said, "I like that you're so quiet. It seems as though you carry it around you like an atmosphere. I believe you might be receptive to something, but it depends on your mood at the present moment. Would you say that you're ready for an act of revelation?" This is me talking to you when you come to my house.
Literally. This is like a casual dinner.
By instinct, I looked down to check if the trap door was under me. Also you. As it was not, I replied, "Yes, I am." Is it a boy? Is the main person?
No, it's a girl. It's a really funny, I was going to bring that up. I read this.
Because I thought it was a girl, but then when it was said, "I don't want to hear about you bringing guys there," and then when he got, like, I started to think maybe
no, it's I thought at first that the writer didn't specify gender, and then when we were reading it, I noticed. Remember, Verene says her name out loud one time.
Her. Yeah. I was just confused.
Yeah, it's a girl.
By instinct, I looked down to check if the trapdoor was under me. As it was not, I replied, "Yes, I am," feeling that Verene required from me the utmost assurance. I didn't truly believe she was luring me into some sort of trap. I'm not normally given to fancies like this, but she somewhat invited them, Verene. She grabbed my hand and led me towards the cellar. There are only rarely people you encounter in life who will possess you in this way. The way that the sky can possess in autumn a flight of golden leaves and carry them along without resistance, imparting a sense of awe. I am unsure if autumn leaves cannot feel awe, borne along like this. Some part of you understands that the wind, the other person, is greater than you. They might destroy you if they like, and you would trust them to do it so completely as to be worth any amount of suffering in the process. Oof.
There was a narrow, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a narrow iron stair spiraling down to the cellar through a narrow column like a chimney. The same sandstone that made up the bridge and the house was here running with wet, the surface coming away in red bits when I brushed against it. The cellar was at least double the height of the building below the earth, but when we got there, I was surprised to see moonlight from a barred window shining in the space. "This house is built into foundations that are much older," said Verene. "If you approach it from the river, you can see the wall that made up an old castle. There's a part of a ruined keep, too, though only a little remains. This material, it doesn't last." She pronounced this last sentence in a sad tone, with a sense of finality behind it. She approached a wooden kist. So a kist, I had to look up. A kist is like a coffin.
Oh.
or like a large wooden chest
Hmm.
in the center of the floor. It did not precisely look like a coffin, though one can infer a similar use for it from its funeral engravings, wreaths of holly and branches of what looked like hawthorn in bloom, like your bed. Um, the initials VS were carved in large and interlocking lettering on the lid. Vereen had a crowbar in her hand. A minute. Are you ready then? It took a few seconds to compose a response. Her eyes in the moonlight shone, and she looked almost angry, so full of emotion that it read as anger. Once I had met the eyes of a leopard who had escaped her cage and was attempting to slink towards the overgrown wood at the edge of the zoo. I stood between her and concealment of freedom. She looked at me, and her whole body tensed as if she would jump on me and tear out my heart with her teeth. Her animal eyes all yellow and black, the pupil flinching as she took my measure. Is it your turn?
Almost. You have like
Okay.
3 more sentences.
She held her muscles taut, but I could see them moving subtly beneath the skin and spotted fur. I felt as though the leopard and I stood together in a band of darkness, the darkness that rushes in after the cycles have left me on the path when I am walking, but both a newer and older night than that.
It was one of the most erotically charged moments of my life, and then the moment passed and she ran off. A group of keepers later managed to divert her back to her cage with a scrap of meat on a litter picker. Yes, I breathed. With a crack, Vereen had levered the heavy wooden lid from the kist, and it fell to the floor with a thud that I felt in my spine. Nothing in reality could live up to the fantasy I had in those few minutes built within my mind. In the kist was a great deal of gold brocade binding up various goods, watches, ties, books, wallets, some of which were very moth-eaten. It was a repository for mementos Vereen had stolen from her men over the years. The only thing that was a little surprising was the volume of objects. But Vereen was, as I said, very beautiful and could easily get any man she wanted. There would not be many who could match her for beauty themselves, and every encounter must have been, I thought, a little of a letdown, an admittance of the mundanity of others, disgraceful to her splendor. She let me keep a set of cufflinks in rough-cut jet, or rather she saw me looking at them and put them in my hand. Wear them for me, she said. Merry Christmas. I had a buttonhole in the lapel of my jacket and placed one there, and the other through the cuff of my shirt where it was meant to go. I couldn't see them properly until the next day, but I could feel their weight against me. The next morning, we went for a walk into the ravine, which was bright with frost. Vereen had seen mink capering by the riverbank on her early walks and expressed the desire I see them too, though I did not feel any urgency in seeing some animals for coats, not then.
I was groggy and had a ravenous hunger, but it seemed my host required very little to fuel her energies. She gave me a hat and gloves to wear, expressing a warm surprise that I had not thought to bring them. In truth, I hadn't dared to hope I'd spend the night. Nothing had happened between us, but that nothing was immense, and I felt it in me like a wide, dark lake. I had slept on the half-sunken sofa in her bedroom, or rather, I dozed, too excited to have been granted the sight of Vereen at rest in her bed. 3 mattresses stacked on a tall wooden base, summited by a ladder.
That's my dream.
Vereen vulnerable, drifting into sleep. I wanted to feast on the sight of her form under the covers, her fine red hair slipping over the pillow, to make some sort of approach to her, but stronger still was the instinct to hold myself firm so that nothing would be damaged. The morning sun was low, playing in the beeches at the top of the ravine. Black branches reached up towards the sky, like a kind of language, while our breaths in the guise of white clouds asserted our existence as hot, imperfect little mammals. Vereen talked away, all about the history of the house, the castle it was, and the grounds around about. There was a chapel over the rise, she said, had been there since before there was a faith for chapels. What had it been then, I asked. A place of lesser sins, Vereen said. I was silent. I had nothing to say that could augment or correct my heart's instability at that moment. An excess of emotion was making it difficult for me to keep up with the pace Vereen was setting. I watched her walking. I've heard it told that lovers are drawn to one another by the kind of power that births religions, that the body, when seen with want, becomes a place of worship and transformation. I wanted it to be so. I watched her walk, letting her go ahead of me where the path narrowed and disappeared altogether. She weaved between the silver birches with a careful indolence. I let myself wonder if she had control over her passions, and if so, what passions she had that morning moving through the wood. She must have known I was watching her, because sometimes she turned and caught my eye and flashed a wicked smile.
We reached a point where the river split in two, with a high rocky island forcing the channels to flow treacherously fast. The remaining leaves on the trees dripped, and I could hear no birds over the sound of rushing water. Vereen stumbled a little and put a palm to her head. "Sorry," she said. "I just feel a little dizzy." "This place seems to cause dizziness," I said. Then her legs gave out, and she went falling backwards into the red bracken. It was only chance that she did not tumble forwards into the river. I stood over her, as I had the first day we met, watching her limbs shake the wet and dying vegetation. After a pause in which I thought nothing, I reached out one leg and kicked her stuttering body towards the river. It took a few stamps, but soon she rolled into the dashing white water with a deep splash and was gone. Oh my God. I stood and listened. That's Vereen drowned, I thought. I looked over at the island and the river, expecting and hoping to see something, the mink perhaps tumbling about, but there was only the rocky surface at the top of it, and some patches of thin grass, flattened by the wetness of river spray. I felt quite alone, though that was to be expected. I caught the bus after a short wait and settled in it for the 40-minute ride home. On the way, I looked at the things I had taken with me from Vereen's house. Her hardback copy of The Wild Iris, whose stumps of pages I ran my fingers over, enjoying their uneven give, which joined the pair of cufflinks she had asked me to wear. I admired the deep black glint in the many faces of the jet and closed my eyes, rubbing the stone against my throat. It was pleasing that its roughness matched in some way the torn remnants of the book. Jet, too, is made of wood and time.
At home, I washed and sat down on my bed. I wondered where Vereen was now. Her body would have been carried away by the current after the walls of the channel had done with her. Bloodied and collapsed in on itself, it was either stuck against some rocks further downstream or else had made it to the sea. I contemplated my inner feelings on what I had done, trying to excavate something significant, but all I found in me was dust. So instead, I tried to find a reason behind the apparition on the bridge the night before. It was probably an echo from my own mind, I thought. What kind of echo? A warning shout, or simply a call for me to acknowledge the sense I had that I was what? Day turned to evening without haste. I was lying down in my nightgown and slippers, topped off by a naked quilt. I was attempting to dry the sheets over the radiator, but it was proving difficult. It was often damp in my flat and always darker than outside. I began coughing, a crinkling cough from an irritation deep in my lungs. A figurine sat on the tall boy opposite my bed, guarding the jet cufflinks and the empty book. She was a woman in a large white frock with a pink touch to the glazed flounces. Still coughing, I reached over and picked her up and moved her around. There was a vegetal quality to the folds of her dress, like they had been modeled on the veined leaves of cabbages. She had a pretty face and red hair, and so I had associated her for many years with Vereen. Indeed, that was why I had bought her in the first place, from a charity shop in a rich part of town. Still, even possessing Vereen in ceramic form had not been enough. The charm of wanting her had not been enough, and neither had I been able to work out how to confess how I felt. To make it all the more disappointing, I wasn't sure even then the texture of my feelings, or ultimately their importance. I coughed again and spat out something from the very bottom of my chest, a scrap of gold brocade. I hadn't remembered putting anything of that substance in my mouth. I disposed of it down the side of the bed.
All right, last paragraph. It was very late and I hadn't eaten at all for many hours. I made myself a cup of warm milk and sat in the chintzy armchair by my front door. I put the figurine beside me between my hip and the armrest. A wintry wind had picked up and was rattling the cover on the blocked up chimney and soughing through minute gaps between the window frame and the sill. I felt the warm milk flowing down my throat and into my stomach. It was very quiet, not even the tick of a clock for company. A mood settled in. It was a knocking at the door, faint at first, that woke me from drowsiness. The knocking continued. I registered it, enjoying the certainty of the sound. It went on for a long time. I felt sure that if I rose and looked through the peephole, I would see no one out there, or else, if I were to see someone, I should not let them in. They can't get in without permission, I thought, and this thought contented me. At last I knew my passions had come all the way from the place where they had lived so long to find me at last, in this odd oral form. And I was making a conscious choice not to let them in, to keep them out. Still, the knocking continued, consistent and regular, a sound that had in some ways always been ongoing, and indeed withheld something worse than silence by its continuity. I looked at the face of the pretty lady, and I ran the edge of my nail over its cheeks. They had a modest shine to them. On reflection, I thought, this was perhaps the best day I had ever lived through, and though it was quite late, it wasn't over yet.
I mean, very Daphne du Maurier, right?
Very Daphne du Maurier. I love Helen McClory. Do we know when this was first published?
No, I think
it new or
late
old?
last year. I think it's new. It's newer. I think late last year.
I
But
really like her
Is-
her vibe.
Is Vereen dead the whole time? Because do you remember she in the beginning they were like she doesn't have a pulse. I don't know.
Maybe she was in her imagination.
Yeah, or she was that little ceramic. I'll have to read The Wild Iris.
I drew on my desk.
You did?
Yeah.
Who-
Oh, it comes off.
Someone said Corky Writing said this was so interesting. I guess Lauren Hughes said love the story. I'm curious if anybody had any thoughts quickly before we.
I'm looking.
Oh, and if anyone has questions, I guess, because you get to see questions. Look at this fun that we can do. Did you know you can do this stuff?
Do what? Oh my God! What? Did you click the filter?
Yeah, you click the face thing. Look at this. Oh my God.
Oh,
what is this?
My God! Look at me.
Oh, I'm in a VHS.
Look at me.
Gorgeous. You look like you. When a filter's on your face. Someone said, read more stuff like this, please.
Oh my God! Look at me.
Gorgeous. Very nerve.
I love. Oh, very nerve. I love.
Isn't this pretty? This is cool. Likes by Emma.
I should have read it like this.
Oh my God. Do you own that hat? Is BB a company? Oh my God.
Oh. Okay.
What does it say? Hilarious. Quarantine Cowgirl?
Yeah. I don't know where these filters
Paige Delaney says, do this again. You're getting really interesting stuff, and I have none of this.
Look.
You look gorgeous, honey.
Thank
Wait,
you.
why do you have these? Oh, this is a green screen.
Oh, your favorite.
I think. Yeah, me and a green screen.
I don't know what these are.
She had to be real if the doctor saw her as well, someone said. Wait, where are you finding these? Mine are all analog and boring. Oh, you just have more options, it seems like.
I was like, I didn't know.
Someone said, are we both teachers? I mean, you could say that. So we're just going to talk, we're just not going to, Lindsay. No, I want to, does anybody have
read more Helen McClory?
I know, she's really good.
She's really good.
I think she might be, no, she's not Australian. That's another author I was reading today. I have no idea what Helen McClory's deal is. I don't think she has a novel, but maybe she does. Are you Googling her?
Uh-huh.
Are you Googling her?
She's a writer and editor based in Edinburgh.
Oh, hence
hence
the spelling. Edinburgh.
That's not it.
Edinburgh.
Can you please explain the ending? I think the ending is up for debate, but I think the ending is that she was dead and was a figment of her imagination. Or
there's a part of me that wants to hit up Helen McClory.
Or the lead girl sees dead people.
Right. Ever the ending of Sixth Sense. Sorry if you guys haven't seen it.
I finally looked up the ending of 6 Feet Under.
Oh, it's great.
I couldn't wait.
You should watch. The finale is unbelievably good of 6 Feet Under.
Well,
and they play the finale montage for 6 Feet Under is Sia. Remember that Sia song pre-Bang Sia? She had that song.
Yeah, what is it? They said that online. I forget.
Oh, it's the best song ever. Guys, if you're in here and you're a Sia fan, what was Sia's first hit single, like from 2005, 6? It's the most beautiful song. It's called and I can't think of
Tell
no,
us someone.
Breathe Me. Breathe Me. That's it.
How does it go?
Breathe Me. It's
Sing it. You know it.
I it's like help I have done it. You're
Oh,
look at your
oh.
smiling.
Wait.
Yeah. It's like dun 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 dun. Oh. It's like be my friend. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. It's such a good song.
I like you singing it.
Thank you. Well, I think that's the finale song. Whatever.
Honestly, Helen McClory, everyone should really go and Google her because I'm
Is
Googling
she
some
a
of
cool
her
looking
books.
chick?
And this On the Edges of Vision sounds really cool. It's her debut collection.
Maybe that's where Slake appears.
And it says, hold on. Yeah, images call on memory on the monstrous self.
Wow.
The skin prickles against sweeps of light or darkness, the fantastic or the frightful, deep water, dark woods, or scattered flesh in desert sand. Wow, she's a vibe. Came out in 2015. All right, I'm gonna order that. But yeah, I'm into her. I liked her vibe.
She's, you know what? She's like the Samantha Hunt of Edinburgh.
That's what I was just gonna say. She's like Samantha Hunt and Daphne du Maurier.
Very, very much. I really like this story.
I love it. I hope you guys liked it. We will if you DM Bellatrix and like tell us what you guys want for next week.
Yeah, if you have some
story time.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna try. I know we've been picking stuff that's on the scary side because we love scary stories or like eerie stuff. So maybe we'll pick something different. But
yeah, I was thinking maybe something a little uplifting or comedic.
That's what I was gonna say.
Or comedic.
Yeah. So if anyone has any recommendations for uplifting and or comedic.
We will do this again. Someone said maybe she's a vampire. I think she is a vampire. I think Verena's a vampire. I think that's right.
Okay, love.
That's the final. All right, guys. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, guys. What are you gonna have for dinner, Kara?
Oh God, here she goes asking me. Probably. No, it's just
when I stalk her.
We share what meals we eat, but sometimes I just don't know, and I don't have a direct answer. Remember this book? This is such a good book. Sorry, it's just right here. Creatures.
Oh, I have it too.
It was impossible to fight our demon of hope. Okay. What am I going to eat? Probably salmon. You know.
Well, I mean, what's on the
Did
menu?
you see what I cooked this morning?
Yeah, the
pancakes.
Pancakes. Where'd you get that recipe?
Stonewall Kitchen pancakes.
Did you make them from a powder or from scratch?
It's a powder. You know Stonewall Kitchen, the best.
No,
you know about Stonewall Kitchen. Forget it. Go down the rabbit hole. So Stonewall Kitchen is in Portland, Maine, but I've
been wanting pancakes
expanded
so bad.
So do you have a waffle maker?
I almost got one today, but no.
I did too. Stonewall Kitchen
really vibing today.
Is the finest in the land of pancake because it's not. I mean, if you want, like, what's the one that my mom never let me have? But Bisquick. Have Bisquick. This is very different than Bisquick. Oh, it's so good.
Wait,
am I gay? Okay.
What is going on?
I don't know, but you have a lot of stuff hitting you up. That bucket hat is really good.
I just wanted hearts or something, and
you're good. You're on hearts. You have hearts. But the bucket hat. Oh, that's a vibe too. The bucket hat and what are they? I mean, I don't know. It's what the kids are wearing. Those mini glasses. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the mini glasses. They don't look good on me.
They're Matrix. Yeah.
Okay, so you're being vague about dinner, though.
I said okay. The truth is, what I want. You know, you play the game. It's like, what do I want? What am I going to have?
Yes.
But what I want.
Mine are the same.
Yeah, you really go for it. No, I'm probably going to have salmon. I may order food. in New York, there's a restaurant called the Odeon,
Yeah, love.
which finally reopened their
You're gonna order
doors.
it?
I might.
I'm
We've been
so
ordering
jealous.
recently also because they, it's good to support. Does LA, yeah, LA has order,
Yes.
like curbside.
I'm gonna have to order because I got a flat tire and can't drive to the grocery store, and I don't want to take an Uber. So, like, I don't want to get in contact with an Uber.
Right.
So, so I think it's ordering time for me tonight.
Well, they also have they have no contact ordering, which is very good.
That's what I'm doing.
Which is very good. But don't worry, I'll let you know.
I don't know what I'm
I'll
gonna
let
have.
you
Something
know.
healthy. All right, love you guys. Hope you guys like this. My phone's about to stop working, which is why
I love the necklace under the other necklace.
This one. All right, I have to get off so I can save.
All right,
bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Okay.